I failed Novel November again, and honestly, I saw it coming. Let's get into that today. Hello and welcome to Pesto Comics. This is the entry for December 3rd, 2025. I failed Novel November again. This is where I went wrong. Welcome back. So every year I try this challenge, formerly NaNoWriMo, now Novel November, to try and get my word count up and to really try to see projects through from beginning to end. I also try Inktober, and that I always have the excuse that I'm not an artist. So if I don't succeed in that, well, it's not my forte, so I can't really complain. But when it comes to Novel November, I'm a writer. I've been trying this challenge for 20 plus years, and I usually end up with a similar result. However, this year, I made a concerted effort to make sure that I figure out why I have such a hard time with this challenge, and we're going to go through that today. I have about 4 reasons why it tends to go poorly, but before we do, I have a couple things I want to share with you. Number 1, Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2 is live on Kickstarter right now through December 19th. We have Kickstarter exclusive hardcovers that you can only get during the campaign. So although you might be able to find the book on pestocomics.com and elsewhere after this campaign, you can only get the hardcovers during the Kickstarter. So make sure to grab it before December 19th if you want to grab one of those. You can find that at bit.ly/BSPV2. And of course, we have the pre-launch for the next issue of Naked Kaiju Woman number 3. This is a very big deal. We don't have a locked-in date yet. I am working with Raphael to figure exactly what that'll be, along with JP, who will be doing the colors yet again. So same team here, just making sure everybody's on track. So once we know where everybody stands, we'll set a launch date and we'll announce it through the new ability to send updates to anybody following the campaign. So if you want to know exactly what's happening with Naked Kaiju Woman, follow the pre-launch page and you'll be the first one to be updated. And now I have one more huge announcement to make. We have a new comic book series coming out in 2026. It is called SNIP. It is with myself writing as usual and good friend of Pesto Comics, somebody I've been working with since the very beginning with Unlimited Udo. That is Riccardo Ficini. He's doing the interiors on this book and now becoming the usual colorist for Pesto Comics. We have JP Jordan doing colors on this book. So we are planning to launch this early 2026. This will be the first campaign of 2026, and even more special, it's not just going to be one issue, it's going to be 2. So lots of big news coming in 2026. This is the first thing that I can announce right away, and the reason we're doing that is because the pre-launch page is live right now. You can find that at bit.ly/snip1comic. Again, bit.ly/snip1comic. This one's a brand new property, brand new story with whole new characters and all that. So it's always a little harder to get people on board as they don't know what they're following. But if you followed anything from Pesto Comics, you'll be sure to love this one. I'm very proud of how this is all coming together, and I absolutely love the art coming back from Riccardo. Very excited to see the colors coming back from JP on this one. We should have issue 1 done and dusted and ready to go before the campaign ever launches, and we'll be in the thick of issue 2 as the campaign goes. So we're changing the strategy a little bit and how we release books going forward. I'm going to share a lot more about all of that in the last post of the year, both on Substack and YouTube. So if you're interested in 2026, 2027, and beyond with Pesto Comics, be sure to stick around as we'll have a lot more of that coming in the new year. Now with that, let's get into it. What did I do wrong with Novel November? Why did I fail so hard? I have 4 reasons. We're going to get into them now. Starting with number 1, I failed to plan. Very straightforward. Novel November needs some planning. You need to know what you're going to write each day. I failed at that. The biggest trick of Novel November is it actually starts in October or before then. But what you should be doing is have a good outline. If you're someone like me, I am not a discovery writer. I am not someone who can sit down at a keyboard and just have the story flow through them and then have perfect structure and all that stuff. I know that a lot of discovery writers don't necessarily do that either, that they'll sit and write and then they'll rework it. For me, I can't even start if I don't know where I'm going. I need the map. I need a good sense of what's what before I ever sit down in front of the keyboard and start tapping away. I do my discovery during the outline, and I thought maybe I can do that during Novel November, and then by the end, I'll hit my word count. I could even cheat and count the outlines toward my word goal for the end of the month. I was truly considering that and saying, hey, it's all writing. But the thing with my outlines is, though they have a lot of detail, they might not actually have a lot of words. I tend to be a little less verbose because I'm just trying to nail out the story and the character and all the beats that I have to hit. And I'm not necessarily getting into the flowery language and all that you do when you actually write a book and you're actually writing the prose that goes into a book. So hitting word counts becomes so much harder when you're just doing outlines and you're not actually writing the book itself. So by the end of the month, I was getting a lot better in terms of hitting word goals and all that. But at the beginning of the month, total mistake. I totally flubbed it. And my second mistake, my timing was awful for a couple of reasons. Number one, Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2 was launching that month, and I wasn't quite ready. Normally a lot more ahead of things, but given that I was dealing with 40 plus authors that were actually in the book and then hundreds more that I had to send, rejections and sorries to. And I do try to speak a little to those that I think have some promise and, stories that I liked but didn't quite fit. So it's a lot of work just for me to communicate with everyone. So I didn't factor that in. I didn't factor that the campaign had to launch and be built and do all that. And although I'm not putting that much into advertising and all that stuff this time around, I'm still trying to do, the campaign itself. I had to do the post kind of explaining all the rewards that go through. I was also dealing with a new vendor with Book Vault and trying to figure that whole rigmarole out and figuring out how to make that work properly. So that was one piece. The other piece, I had a vacation. I was in Italy for a week in the middle of November. And I thought, oh, well, I'm going to find a cafe. I'm going to sit and I'm going to write. And that did not happen. I had no time to sit and write and really just do that deep thinking that you need to do to hit your word goals. So that was a week out of 4 possible weeks that I could have been writing. And I was not at the right pace to be doing that. So timing, absolutely awful. Did not help myself there. And that kind of leads into issue number 3, which was I didn't have a schedule. So it's not like I woke up every morning and at, 7 a.m. I sat in front of the computer and I started typing. When I had my most productive years, it was me writing in the food court of the Eaton Center. It was a big mall here in Toronto. And my office was across the street from it. I was at Yonge and Dundas, for those of you who know Toronto. And I would go to the Eaton Center before the food court really even opened. There'd be people at the Tim Hortons and there'd be people at McDonald's getting their breakfasts and their coffees and all that. And that was most of the noise. And I'd get my own coffee and I'd sit there and I'd write for 2 hours. Part of it was dropping my wife off at work, and then I would park, and I had 2 hours before my shift started. So I'd use that time to write. So I had an involuntary schedule that I would sit and I would write, and I had dozens and dozens of short stories written in that time. I had ideas for comics, some of which I'm still working on today, but I wasn't at that stage quite yet at the time. But now that I work from home primarily with my day job, and I'm doing all these things, I'm doing YouTube, I'm doing the newsletter, I'm doing all that business, I find less and less time for me to be able to actually just sit and write. So a schedule would be genius. That would be the smartest thing to do. However, I am no genius and I do not plan that well. So not having a schedule really set myself back from doing any kind of successful level of work here. And of course, Novel November might be the wrong goal for what I'm trying to accomplish here. I have books that are being planned and coming out. I have Switch Restart coming out in the new year. I also have the Backlot Babylon series. So I have quite a bit of writing to do. However, I keep setting deadlines for myself with these books that I'm not comfortable with. Every time I go back and I read the book and I say, okay, time to get it to the next editor, I just don't feel like these stories are ready. So working on something new just for the sake of it didn't feel appropriate. I have work that needs to be polished and needs to be brought up to the level that you guys deserve to read from me. So that was really a mistake on my part. Just doing it because it's November, it doesn't seem like a good reason to do anything. If I had a goal that I wanted to hit, if I had something I wanted to accomplish, then it would make a lot of sense. However, I wasn't there. I was just like, it's November, time to write a new book, even though I didn't really have something that I needed to work on or wanted to work on. So doing it just to do it, not the best approach. So what did I learn from all this? Number 1, Novel November begins in October. Have your outline, have your plan, know what you're going to write before you get there. Number 2, audit your calendar. Is November the time that you should be writing a new book? Do you have time to sit down and get 50,000 words done in a month? Is that reasonable? Is that something you want to do? Think about that before Novel November comes. Don't just do it because it's time. Number 3, is 50,000 words the metric that you want to hit? Are you doing 50,000 words because it makes sense? If you're writing novels, that's absolutely a decent goal to hit, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Maybe count the amount of scripts you get out, the amount of pages that you get to artists, that kind of thing. You can set your own metrics. The whole point of Novel November is not just to hit a number, it's to have some productivity. It's to give you something to push you towards a goal. So setting that goal is very important. Number 4, define some time blocks. Have a schedule. Have a time that you sit down and write. You may not always be able to do it. Life gets in the way. I totally get that. However, you should have some sense of when writing time is so that you can make time for yourself to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish. If you don't set time for it, it won't find itself. So you got to make sure that you have writing time. It doesn't have to be the same time every day, but there has to be a time for you to write. And then the last one that I didn't mention here, but something that has worked for me in the past, when I have come close to completing NaNoWriMo, Novel November, whatever you want to call it, it was when I had some accountability. And what did I do? It wasn't just me telling people that I was doing it. I did tell people that I was doing it. I did it a month ago. And I said, hey, I'm going to be doing Novel November. And then I didn't say a peep about it again. And that's the difference. In the past, when I did well, I was posting every day. This is how many words I did. This is how many words I didn't do. This is the pace I need to reach to get to the end of Novel November. So when I did that, I got so much closer than I did in the past. This year, I didn't plan well, so I didn't have any accountability for what I was doing. I just said it and forgot it, and nobody bugged me about it, so I didn't get it done. And here we are. So with that, Novel November came and went, and I didn't do well this year. However, I'm going to aim to do much better next year. I have a project in mind. I think it'll fit for that period, so I'm already doing that part and getting that ready. But I also have books that need to be polished and ready for release coming in 2026. The ones I've already mentioned, Switch Restart, BACKLOT Babylon, and the sequels to that book. You'll notice that I'm starting to get more volume out just for the same amount of time and the same campaigns. So I hope that's something you're looking forward to, because that is a little bit of a preview of what we'll be talking about at the end of the year when we preview 2026. But before that, we have a lot more to talk about before the year comes up. I'm actually doing a bit of a batch record today. I'm trying to get as much ready and done before the end of the year, so I may be wearing the same getup. I hope you like the new hat, though. So this is going to be a regular thing. I kind of liked how it turned out. Not perfect, but close enough. But yeah, very happy with that. So if I look the same, that's kind of why. But all that said, I do appreciate you being here. We'll be here next Wednesday with a new video talking about all kinds of stuff. And with that, I want to thank you for being here. If you're on YouTube, this is where I part with you. We'll talk again next Wednesday, but you could always join us on Substack, where I continue to chat a little bit beyond the cut. We call it a super secret epilogue. It's no secret because I'm telling you right now, but I always go a little bit more in depth. It's kind of just a free form, chat. This is what I'm thinking this week. So join us there for that. And then, of course, if you're a paid subscriber, we'll get into the background of Big Smoke Pulp Volume 2. I'm trying to do those posts, although I'm batch recording today. Those are going to be a little more live each week, giving you a live view into what's happening with Big Smoke Pulp live. I go through the dashboard. I show you the numbers. No secrets. So if you're interested in all of that, become a paid subscriber. Check it out at pestocomics.substack.com. And with that, I want to thank you for being here. We'll talk again next Wednesday. Have a good one.